Hey, check up. Let's play some D. Welcome to episode 43 of Play Some D. As always, it's your boy, it's your host, it's me, Coach Dizzy, Dizzy, Dizzy. It's Coach D. It's D. I'm here, man. I'm here for a new banger, a new joint, a new hair sticking to the mic. This week is just it's super interesting with this episode because the news of the Russian and Ukraine situation and all that news is it does take the oxygen out of the room on other things and just kind of wanting to talk about other things and things of that nature. So that does create a bit of a quarrel, I think, in all of the realms of reporting things, telling stories, the news, because that's a big deal. You know, people are dying, people are fighting, and majority of people would say for really it shouldn't be happening. People shouldn't be dying for these for these reasons. Just so that's the whole idea with that and reporting on other things, with I mean it's just so much stuff, and then that affects other stuff with like, chip shortages and imports and exports and oil. It it understandably, takes takes air, out of out of things. So with that being said, is coming up with topics and talking about them at least immediately right now. I think for most people is a little bittersweet because talking about sports and things of that nature isn't. People are going through. There's people going through hard times right now, and it's right in our eyes. We see it, and and I know everybody wants to do something about it, wants it to stop, and all that good stuff, and that affects. I think just as the human effect, it should be okay for it to touch people and make people feel whatever way they want to. So with that being said, that's kind of how I feel about the topics I'll talk about today. It's all in the backlight of a major issue going on, a major thing, major event going on right now. But this week is like I said, I feel like I got some stuff. Obviously Euphoria, yeah, that was obvious. I'm gonna go over Euphoria season two. Talk about sugar, specifically with sugar. The article I've looked at, and I've always been intrigued with sugar and how it's just just kind of blasted through into our society and how sugar just takes over our food essentially. But this will be the effects on the brain, which I just thought was an interesting article. I'll talk about the NBA trade deadline, obviously specifically the James Harden Ben Simmons trade. I just wanted to touch on some of the NBA trades that happened over the deadline. I wanted to wait and not just talk about it right away because I feel like that right away talking about stuff is that everybody does that. So let's get. It's usually been a month, a good amount of games. You've watched some of the players move, and I'll talk about some of those transactions that happened before the trade deadline of February 10th. Then, in the same aspect of it, I'll be talking about the NFL offseason and just some of the quarterbacks, specifically Aaron Rodgers. Once again, it's like the trade thing is specifically about Ben Simmons and Harden, as far as like the in-depth stuff. But Aaron Rodgers, where he should be quarterbacking next season. So with that being said, as always, if you don't mind, hit the sub button, hit that subscribe, that big red join is right under this video, right there, yeah, and the like button. It's always cool to hit that baby, and notifications. Oh, comments. Notifications last, comments first. Let me know what you think. Yeah, let's take this baby off. Jump ball, throw it up in the air. That This one I'm throw it up, and that the ref. But I'm throwing this one up is leaning easily toward HBO Max and Euphoria. Euphoria gets the tip this week in first quarter, and it's it's a show. It's a it's a show. It's I would say is decent, good at best, rather entertaining. And that all kind of is intertwined and interweaved, just an interesting type of show. Because one of my pet peeves of the show is the lack of dialogue. And they just don't talk enough in Euphoria. It's a lot of cinematography, but it's cool cinematography. It all like works, and it does tell more of a story than you can imagine it does. The different colors and angles and looks. And then there's obviously dramatization, and Zendaya does a good job. This year, I think his name's Angus Cloud or Fez. He does a good job. Uh, I forgot his real name, but the guy that plays Nate's dad, he has a banger episode, probably the best episode of the season. And as well as Nate, he does his thing acting wise, and the girls that play Maddie and Cassie, they are such a great compliment to each other and the show with what they bring in that this social media, this pretty girl and drama and attention and yeah. But yeah, Euphoria is wrapped around, the things of addiction and things of that nature, and they all play their different role with all the different characters, and you can, psychoanalyze all that different stuff. For me personally, I don't dig that deep into that side of it because I don't have those type of issues, so it's kind of hard for me to relate to them. But I know some people, and I've read a lot of people talk about like Zendaya's characters and other characters, Cassie's character, she's addicted to, like the attention and things of that nature, and people having a connection to it and understanding those characters and where they come from, all over online forums and things of that nature is whether, I don't know if they're trolls or real people or whatever, but you could see the different comments and reflections on some of these characters. And yeah, it's a show, so some of it is going to be overblown and whatever. But you got to entertain people. You got to keep people watching. The show's averaging 16.3 million viewers, which is the best performance of any season of HBO series over the past years, other than Game of Thrones, which averaged 46 million viewers across its 8th and final season, which is just astronomical. So that's an outlier. So 16.3 people watching a week, and that's obviously what they can capture. There's another, I don't know how many million is watching it in other facets that I won't touch on, but that's just a good, nice big number that'll get season 3 rocking whenever it happens. To wrap it all in is that I'm not gonna sit up here and say, "Oh wow, it's amazing." I think the best way to describe the show is it's entertaining. It's a good watch for an hour every week to kind of escape to a whole different world, and it always brings that I don't know if it's a mystique, but those wild moments because they're playing high schoolers, and you're like, people like, whose high school is like this? My high school wasn't like that, or my high school was wild, or I've seen stuff and things of that nature. And yeah, stuff can get a little crazy. I mean, there's multiple high schools all over, and some kids do have unlimited access to money and things, and parents may be out of town and kicking it and hanging out. Who's to say that there isn't some kind of representation of this somewhere? You just don't know. But that high school young kid aspect of the show turns some people off, and it keeps some watching. And I think that is a cool take on it as well. One of the other issues, just side note, is the penises. I wish they would go. They just, I think it's like a calling card now of just like a troll that the show does, which is kind of funny, but like we don't really need that. The rest of the stuff, though, I think it all goes well. I just think it's so many characters. I just hope in season 3 they all just get to talk more and they actually verbalize the characters instead of cameras panning and shots and glaring music and sound and bass and uh, suspense. I want to see the characters. A lot of these characters can act their butts off. So I hope Livingston unleashes them in season 3, and we get to see a lot more. I mean, we get to see, and Zendaya has her moments in both of them, and then she narrates the show. So as far as her dialogue, it's totally fine. But there's some other characters that that I would like to just see go, do a little bit of back and forth, a little bit more. I personally still believe that Zendaya's episode with Ali in the diner was the best episode. Once again, the reason I say that because it's dialogue. It dug into those two specific characters in one-on-one setting, and it was dope because you got to dive into those characters. There's outside of some backstory, some backdrops of like telling who the characters are, they don't actually get to tell it really for themselves. Even in Lexi's play, it is told through her eyes. It's told through her story, narrated by Zendaya's characters, Rue's character, which is an unreliable narrator that she's already said once before. So the outlook of what you're getting is from her narrating and then through Lexi's storytelling. So you don't really even uh, know, what's 100% and what's not. When as if you hear from the characters, I think you just get a little bit more in the dialogue. Uh, I like dialogue. I've always liked dialogue in shows. I like the back and forth. I like banter. I like all that stuff. It's one reason why I loved Billions when Giamatti and I always forget his name, but the guy that played Axe, they were just so good with the dialogue, and Wags, they just talked, and man, that show's a really good show. But I enjoyed this. I enjoy Euphoria. I'll be ready for season 3. It probably won't be until 2024 or something crazy like that. But I think that'll give people a good amount of anticipation to get ready for it, and maybe maybe that'll be the end. But they're definitely gonna come and rocking on season 3. They'll have much more money and with an audience waiting to see what they can pull off. So decent show. It was a good season. I feel like season 1 was better. This one ended just a little bit unnecessary in some weird kind of ways. There was some episodes in there that didn't really get needed, and the last 2 episodes didn't have to be like, they didn't have to cram everything into them like I felt like they did. They could have spaced it out a little bit better and eliminated some of those other episodes for sure. Or they could have had more episodes. I know that was tough with the COVID and things, but yeah, more episodes probably would have helped more than anything than not, you know. All right, so second quarter is and it's sugar. I don't mess with sugar. Pretty much. I mean, every now and then, I'll eat something, but I'm not a sugar craving person. I don't cookies and cakes and all that good stuff and Skittles and um ever since I realized high fructose corn syrup was in our bread and cereal and every single thing, probably in my, I don't know, early 20s or yeah, something around that nature. I really backed off sugar, and this doesn't make you feel good sometimes. depending on what sugars you eat. Um, I do get some of like the coconut sugars and things of that nature and sprinkle them from time to time, but I've never craving them or like dumping it in really anything. Uh, but growing up as a kid, I consumed a truckload of sugar. I mean, I rarely drank water, and I always drank gallon juices, which is just flavored sugar water or colored flavored sugar water. You know, get the red juice. You know, that's what it was, red juice. Drink it like sugar on your head. And sugar was like, especially in college or just getting up or staying up late or getting up early, you pounded sugar to go, get you outside, get you through the day, get you hyper, get you going. So that's kind of my background with sugar. But uh, so what happens in your brain when you eat sugar? When sugar hits our tongue, it activates a certain taste bud that sends a signal to the brain, including the cerebral cortex. This is from Nicole Avena. She's a PhD and assistant professor in neuroscience at Mount Sinai of Medicine. She wrote the book. She wrote a book about sugar addiction. The signal activates the brain's reward system, dopamine, a feel-good brain chemicals release. The behavior is reinforced, which makes us want to repeat it. Like, ooh, that's great. Give me more sugar. Sugar is rare among dopamine producing foods. Most of the time, when we eat something that tastes, dopamine is released for the first time we taste it. It's different for sugar. Sugar repeats this every single time. Eating lots of sugar will continue to feel rewarding because the dopamine level doesn't balance out, which it does when eating healthier food. So sugar does act a bit like a drug, and that's what gets people hooked on sugary foods. So on too much sugar, your that reward system, your brain adapts and actually rewires itself, and you end up craving more and more and more. This was they conducted it on rats and things of that nature, and high sugar diets increase inflammation in this area, also affects short-term memory. So it begins to, because what it does to your brain when you eat it, it could begin to alter it. And I just read that like our brain's like 2% of the weight of our body, but it consumes like 20% of our energy. And to think that my issue and reason why I like to talk about sugar and keep people on their understanding when you eat stuff that has sugar and all that good stuff in it is that why would it, it's just, it makes me feel uncomfortable that why is sugar fed to us in this manner when you know that it could be addictive and it's not really, good for us to eat it like that. And that addictive nature of, especially what we have to have is food. We have to eat. We need something to provide us energy. And if you dump in sugar in every little thing we eat, and then not good sugars, you got the high fructose corn syrup, the processed sugars, not even giving us like decent sugar at best. There's no, at least that I know of, there's no super sugar, super food sugar. It's all, you want to get natural sugars is what, they tell us, which personally I feel like that is a valid statement because they feel good when you eat natural sugars and you use that. Everybody gets cravings for something, whether it's pizza, ice cream, sugar, whatever. But if you can replace that with something like blueberries or an apple or whatever your thing is, mangoes, and not too much of it, if you feel better. Um, why sugar makes your brain crave more sugar? A strong connection between our gut and brain. Sugar comes into play when that sugary thing eating hits your gut. It activates sugar receptors that's there too, which is stomach receptors to the brain, which signals the brain release insulin to deal with the extra sugar you've eating. And like excess sugar, it produces that extra insulin, and that's a hormone involved in blood sugar regulation. The insulin signals fat cells to store excess amounts of glucose, fatty acids, and other calorie-rich substances. So as a result, too few calories remain in the bloodstream. So the brain thinks it's now low on fuel because it's moved it somewhere else instead of actually using it. Especially if you're like not active or you're just sitting around. So then your hunger level rises, and sugar is appealing then because it provides quick energy. Cycle begins, you keep it going and going and going, and then you know that also effective growing. Fatty acids, it's storing them somewhere. It's like, oh, later on I'll need them, use them. So that's also how that sugar kind of gets you in in a bad spot with weight. But once again, I said my biggest gripe about sugar is that just to read this article and to see that there's people that write about the addiction of sugar, and then it's not like a actual drug. Let's just say, i.e., cocaine, where obviously rumors that it was in Coca-Cola or whatever. But if that was in our bread, in our cereals, in our muffins and donuts, and we had to eat it, and it's hard to get around it, and then when you ate it, you just want more. Like, why would you put that in people's food? And I feel like for a good 10 years, it was super heavy. Then people started to get conscious of it. Now, it's still sprinkled in there. It's just maybe in a different term, like uh, cane sugar, which is a better sugar, or it's agave, or some other syrupy substitute for sugar. But at the end of the day, it's still sugar. I mean, obviously the other ones, the stevia, is things that they give you that sweetening effect, the taste, but not the actual thing. That's a whole different subject. But to train people to be addicted to that taste, that craving of things that just aren't good for us. I just feel like I don't know why that popped off, and for the greed of money or whatever it was. That's just, I've always just had a weird feeling with sugar. Salt kind of a little bit too as well, because they pack salt into a lot of things, but that's mainly the excuse for that could just be for like a preservative, because you do have to preserve the food. Go bad. Salt does help with that, and then your body needs salt. We know we need salt as we need sugar as well. But I feel like it was just a better way to market it to us, give it to us, and have us eat it. But yeah, the sugar does. Well, I mean, you don't have to read the article to know that sugar does wild things to your brain. Because newsflash, sugar is on your brain. All right, well, that was second quarter, and halftime. Uh, Halftime, we're gonna ski that along into the sports stuff. It's sports talk time here on Play Some D on 43. And the quarterbacks, I'll go to Aaron Rodgers last, and it's really only a couple guys I want to talk about. This won't even be too long of a jam, but I think one of the first people I want to talk about is Jimmy G. Is that 49ers have to go with another. They have to go with Trey. You pick them at that number, you gotta go with them. They could have got some. Man, I got Micah Parsons with that pick, and that's just you know. Jimmy does get hurt though, so to get the young kid in there, I'm sure it's hard for everybody in the organization, but that makes sense. Jimmy G would probably make sense for the Saints. I, um, I think he makes sense for probably all of the same teams that Aaron Rodgers could go. I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers could go everywhere, but I think Saints and Steelers would probably make some sense for Jimmy G, but Saints and or Giants. I mean, he's either one of those wouldn't hurt, but I do think he upgrades whoever he goes to, as long as he stays healthy. I just don't know. Once again, that's the whole issue. Does he, how healthy does he stay? Another interesting one, and I only talk about this one because of the Cleveland Browns, is that Matt Ryan and Atlanta has to get him out of there. They should have took Justin Fields, but whatever. Matt Ryan works for the Browns or the Steelers. Baker, I get Baker out of there. I'm not going to talk about him, but I don't know where he goes, where he plays. I think he's a backup quarterback. But Matt, I think, works there. I think he could give the Browns a fighting chance to win, as long as he could handle the cold. The cold weather I think it's a huge factor in all that stuff. You got to be able to play in the cold. I think that's totally important. Kirk Cousins, for whatever reason, I feel like is going to end up staying with the Vikings. Don't know how or why, but he probably will. Russell Wilson, that'll be like an angry type of – that's going to escalate. If it happens, it'll escalate quick, and we won't even know until it's probably too late. He's the man in the trade. So Jimmy G and Aaron Rodgers was kind of who I was going to mainly talk about here. Actually Deshaun Watkins. Deshaun Watson. Dolphins say they're out. Washington makes sense, and then once again, same deal is that he makes sense in all the places that Aaron Rodgers would make sense in, and that's what leads me to Aaron Rodgers, which is essentially what this topic honestly is about. The Packers situation is weird with this because they don't want to get rid of him. They don't want to trade him, and they kind of have to. I don't think he plays for them again unless they're able to salvage. I mean, they got monster cap stuff they got to deal with, and Devontae Adams probably, I guess, in some way, shape, or form will figure out a way to play with Aaron Rodgers if it all works out. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't be trying to go with another quarterback, especially when we can both leave at the same time or stay if we want to. But I think the most obvious pick to me is the Steelers for Aaron Rodgers. I think the Steelers would love it. I think Aaron would love it. And I think they would immediately be the Super Bowl favorites if he went to Pittsburgh. The defense isn't incredible, but it'll hold teams to just enough points to allow him to get the ball down the field. I mean, he'll have Najee. He'll have Deontay Johnson gets hurt, but I don't know what they'll do. I'm sure Juju will stay if Aaron comes. I'm sure Juju is in. I don't see him. I don't see him dipping out unless the money is wrong or whatever case may be. But he's Broncos. I would hate to see Aaron with the Broncos because I just feel like the defense will probably hold them short, and then they got weapons on offense, but I just think they're so inconsistent. I mean, the Javonte Williams, he'll take over at running back. He's a stud, but the receivers, I mean, they're good. They got Noah Fant at tight end, but they're hurt. That weather, I mean, Pittsburgh's got some pretty nasty weather too, but I just wouldn't want to see him go to the Broncos. Obviously, I would love if he came to the Browns. Don't think that will happen. I'm still interested to know if Andrew Berry made the call to him last year. Made the call to the Packers last year. I really would love to know if he did or not. Pretty sure he did, but none of the reports came out. And that to me is all that makes sense. I mean, the Raiders make sense for obvious reason of Las Vegas and shiny, shiny, shiny. It would be cool to see him at the play for the Raiders, and the Raiders got a squad there, but I don't think he wants to be in that division with Herbert and Mahomes. I really wouldn't. Not at 38. You run a risk of not making the playoffs at all with those two guys, or just happen to fight a little too hard. Where you go to Pittsburgh, you really got to. You do have to battle. It is a tough division, but I feel like you're the best quarterback clearly in that division. I mean, Joe is nice, but he's not Aaron. At least the Aaron we've seen. I don't know if he'll fall off a cliff next season, but all we know is that Aaron Rodgers is just won MVP, so that's the guy you're expecting to get. So yeah, I would say clearly Steelers. Browns make a ton of sense. The Raiders make sense, and the Broncos. I hope he doesn't do that, and I hope he doesn't stay with Green Bay because he clearly doesn't want to be there anymore, and he shouldn't have to be. He gave him a Super Bowl. He's gave them high-level play, and they drafted a guy, what was that, a few years ago that they clearly could have used another receiver or another playmaker, and they took a quarterback that this dude probably can't even play. So that's third quarter, and fourth quarter is the NBA trade deadline. So I was originally going to talk about all the trades at first and just say what I thought. I said, let's look at it from a different angle. And this angle will be that these trades have happened. These guys have played, and the effect that they'll, hopefully have on their team. So the first one happened on the 4th, which was the trade for Norman Powell and Covington went to the Clippers. And the Blazers got Justin Winslow, a second-round pick, Eric Bledsoe, which is slightly strange trade, but the Norman Powell contract and things of that nature. But Norman Powell and Covington will help the Clippers. Robert Covington has helped already. He's played some really good games against like top talent. He's a really good defender. Norman Powell will help as long as Kawhi and Paul George are out, but these two guys, in my opinion, become overshadowed once Paul George and Kawhi get back. They kind of fall in that second fiddle because both of them won't be playing at the same time that Paul George and Kawhi was on the court, and I'm almost guessing neither of them will be. You'll probably have a big in the game. You'll have Reggie Jackson in the game. You'll probably have a shooter, Luke Kennard, or you'll probably have the Morris, I think Mark, I don't know which one it is. But obviously the Clippers winning that trade. The Portland Trail Blazers are in deep doo-doo, and they did a trade Lillard for a nice package and kind of restart that baby. The Cavs on the 7th of February got Karis LeVert, which was a good pickup. Pacers got a first-round lottery-protected 2022 and 2 second rounds. And Ricky Rubio, which is hurt. He's hurt, and his expiring contract. Really good pickup for the Cavs if Karis stays healthy. I always said that, and it's kind of been like that too. I don't think he's played. What has he played? Yeah, he hasn't played since February 15th. Yeah, he has played 4 games for the Cavs. He had 22 in one of the games, but the other games he was kind of just out there, it looks like, and probably because he was hurt. He's just one of those dudes that stay hurt. So I don't think it'll help the Cavs really at all. It's cool to have him there, but you got to be available. Big one here was, the Trailblazers sending McCollum to the Pelicans. And Pelicans winning this one. Blazers got Josh Hart, Alexander Walker, some picks, some dudes that you can't even say their names. but CJ is probably going to help get the Pelicans into the play-in and probably Zion back in good faith with the Pelicans. It's a good pickup. Him, Ingram, and Zion could be pretty darn good together. So I think they're 4-0 since CJ got there. So once again, waiting and seeing how the chemistry and things look. Uh, you know, that's why I wanted to kind of wait and talk about this. On the same day, February 8th, Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson went to the Pacers, and the Kings got Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, the second round pick. I felt like when it happened, once again, is that I felt like both teams kind of got, I feel like both teams helped each other. Like Tyrese couldn't play with the Kings had so many guards over there, so you got to get rid of one of those guys, and it either had to be Fox or him. They just got Davion Mitchell, which they probably shouldn't have got, but I don't think Halliburton and Fox. I just don't think it worked. They both need the ball, but Sabonis playing with Fox so far is looking like they get each other and they complement each other. On the Pacers side, they just got to piece together, like getting people healthy, figure out what they do with Miles Turner and Halliburton's a stud. And I think Buddy, I don't know what Buddy's deal is, but I just think he wants to be in a winning environment, I feel like, which is understandable. I mean, he's about to be 30 years old. Or he just turned 29. Let me not age the man. But I think he wants to be in a winning environment at some point, and he just never has. And I understand if frustration, not really wanting to play and get hurt, and boom, ba boom. Let's see. Bol went to the Magics. I don't need to talk about that. Goran Dragic, he ended up going to that doesn't really, none of this stuff matters. I think we just get to the juicy stuff. Trez did go to the Hornets. That was a good pickup for the Hornets. Milwaukee sending Dante DiVincenzo, I didn't think they should have did that. He was one of their guys before he got hurt. Last season, they should have kept him. They should have been playing him, actually, but he went to the Kings. It's a good pickup for the Kings. And Marvin Bagley getting to the Pistons. Him and Cade, I think, if they get on the same page, they work hard, I think they can help each other be better. I don't know what that's worth, but they can definitely help each other be better. This Celtics trade, everybody's the Daniel Tice to the Celtics. I just think it was good because they're just the familiarity in how he plays, and I think they like him. So I think that helps. Dennis Schroeder wasn't really helping over there, and neither was Cantor. Celtics also got Derek White, which will help. Spurs got Romeo Langford, which I thought Romeo Langford was I thought Celtics probably should have kept him, but I don't know if they were giving him what he needed. And then I don't feel like Romeo Langford was giving the Celtics what they need. Finish my thought. Now the two good ones was the Mavericks got Spencer Dinwiddie and they sent Porzingis. I don't think Porzingis is he's either your third best player or your fourth best player, and you might have a shot. But Spencer and Luka, I think Spencer, Luka, and Brunson all handling the ball. They'll cause some issues. They'll being able to get somebody else. Luka and Brunson having somebody else to get a bucket to make a play. They'll have three playmakers out there that can get a bucket at the end of the game, which I think will be huge when Porzingis was kind of just out there. And then the Wizards, I don't think they win with that, but he does become their, third or fourth best player behind Beal and Kuzma. So maybe he helps, but we'll have to see how that turns out. The Wizards just seem like they can't pull it together, and they should not pay Bradley Beal. Nobody should pay Bradley Beal $240 million. That's just my opinion. And then the big one that everybody thought should have happened, did happen, made sense. Ben Simmons for James Harden should have happened. The Houston swap, Philly should have got James, and Houston should have gotten Ben Simmons. That would have helped them way more than what they have now, but they didn't do it. Whatever. So a lot of talk about it. In my opinion, I thought the better player is James Harden. So Philly wins to me. Ben helps the Nets in spots, but as long as Ben can't shoot the ball, Ben doesn't help really anybody when it really matters. Because in a game where something's on the line, yeah, I guess you could say KD's probably going to have it or Kyrie's going to have it ISO'd anyway. But where is Ben? Ben's in the dunker's position. Where do you put Ben on the floor? Is he at the high post? You know, what's Ben with the game on the line, tied up, ball in Kevin Durant's hand? I'm probably doubling off of Ben Simmons' guy, depending on where Ben Simmons is, especially if Ben Simmons is in the corner. I'm not even guarding him. So if for whatever reason he can shoot, whole different conversation. But to talk about something that's never happened and expected to happen, not going to do that. So James Harden of Philly, and he's been balling, and he's, you know, him and Embiid are perfect. And then Simmons being out got Maxey going. So it's just it was a perfect storm for Philly. Doc got what he wanted and got the player he wanted, and they got Ben out of there. And I think they definitely want to Ben out of there once they. I mean, in today's league, it's hard to want a guy that can't shoot the ball. So we'll see how he works with the Nets, and the Nets will have so many guys now. You know, having that end of game lineup doesn't even have to have Simmons out there. If Steve Nash calls a timeout and we go 6 seconds left, you can put. You could actually have Ben will be the inbounder probably. But once he inbounds, where does he go? If Ben's inbounding the ball, I'm not guarding him. I'm just making sure Kevin Durant don't catch the ball. Kyrie has to make the shot. But you'll have Seth. If Joe Harris is back, you got Seth, Joe Harris, and Patty probably with Kyrie and Durant. I mean, you get Durant the ball at the top of the key and you spread them out with those four shooters. I mean, good luck. Good night. Because he's either going to shoot over who's ever guarding him, or the double's going to come and swing, bang. It's so Seth going there, I think, may in turn, Seth and Andre may be bigger pickups than Ben. We'll see. Ben hasn't got out there and played. I was hoping by the time I did this segment, this quarter with this, that he would have at least got a quarter. We'd have seen some action. Well, you've seen nothing but just some practice kind of footage. So Philly wins the trade. James Harden's been balling. They lost to Miami, and I figured that was going to happen even if James played, because Miami was like, look, we're the top dogs right now. Y'all just got the guy. We're going to come in here and, So, and I think Miami gets Oladipo back, but once again, it's kind of like Karis LeVert. It's nice to have him, but he'll probably never help you or do anything for you. So, let's play some D43. Goodies. Those goodies that just packed it in there. Whew. I really wanted to dig a little more harder on sugar, but I just didn't want to get into my rants and my tangent. But the sugar articles, the sugar science is just so interesting to me. It's always been fascinating. I've been watching it and following it and seeing the different sugars out there and how people use them, what they put them in. And when you look at back ingredients, see what's processed, see what's got sugar in it. And one of my biggest pet peeves was like cereal growing up. Like cereal was so good growing up. Now it's just like some of it, or some of the better cereals when I was growing up that I like, is like turning to candy and just a whole different taste. And just one of the things that are so unfortunate for me is that I used to love cereal so much, and I don't even mess with it. Haven't for a long time. Euphoria season 2 was I always tell you, it's worth the watch. It's not a high expectation, just it's gonna knock your socks off, but it'll take you somewhere for an hour, and you know there's some good solid actors in that joint, actors and actresses for sure. Um, the NBA trade deadline has some stuff in there that could affect how the playoffs look. And obviously, I said the main thing I was talking about there was the James Harden and Simmons, is that they'll that may be the Eastern Conference Finals possibly, and those two guys will be battling it out, and see who, that'll tell you exactly who won the trade. Like, it's very, very possible. Or they may play each other in a round, and that'll tell you who won the trade. And then the QB moves. It's just super interesting. I just kind of feel for Jimmy G a little bit, because he was that close to getting them to another Super Bowl. There have been 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and he was going to be out the door regardless, unless he won that thing. So I do think whoever he goes, so long as he stay healthy, he's going to help them. And pretty sure Aaron Rodgers ends up with the Steelers. Just what I think. But who am I? I'm just D, just Coach of D, chilling, willing, and dealing. Like button, sub button, drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the trades. Where you think Aaron Rodgers might go. What you think about Euphoria. And how much sugar you eat, A lot? Little? None? Put it in your tongue? Have some fun? You know how we do. Be safe. Be cool. Hope everybody don't have to go through rough times for too long. And until the next one, Holla.